Alien girl returned to the human who saved her, but not for rescue. Something warmer. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, back to our main character. Commander Ryan Carter stood at the edge of the desolate alien landscape, his breath misting in the cold air. His uniform, hardened by the years of service, seemed almost too stiff for this moment, too formal for the raw emotions churning in his chest. He had been through countless missions, countless moments of fear and adrenaline, but nothing quite like this. It had been months since Zara, the alien girl he had once saved from certain death, had disappeared without a trace. The memories of that cold, harsh night when he found her, injured and alone, still haunted him. Back then, he never expected to form a bond with an alien, much less someone as strong and fierce as Zara. But now, as he stared across the barren field, the air heavy with anticipation, he wondered what had brought her back. His thoughts were interrupted by the sudden hum of a ship descending through the atmosphere. His heart skipped a beat as the sleek, silver craft landed softly just a few feet away. The ramp lowered with a quiet hiss, revealing the figure he had never truly forgotten. Zara stood there, framed by the ship's glow, her posture regal, yet her eyes held something deeper. There was no fear in them, no desperation, just a quiet, simmering intensity. She was taller now, her features sharper, more refined. Her once damaged skin, a brilliant shade of violet, shimmered as she stepped forward, every movement measured, yet graceful. She wasn't here to be saved. She wasn't here to be the fragile alien he had once rescued. No, something was different. Zara's presence was commanding, almost as if she had become more than the helpless girl he had known. "Ryan," she said, her voice soft but steady, a far cry from the weak, trembling sound he had heard before. "I've come for something warmer." The words hung in the air between them, charged with an unspoken meaning. He didn't know what she meant by that, but his heart raced, unsure if he was ready for what was to come next. Zara took a step closer, her gaze never leaving his. She wasn't asking for his help. She wasn't pleading for protection. She had changed, grown, become something more. And now, here she was, standing in front of him, the very person who had once given her a second chance at life, ready to take a step further than either of them had imagined. Ryan's breath caught in his throat as the weight of her presence settled in. There was no going back now. The connection they had shared all those months ago, however fleeting, had only grown stronger with time. Now, they were both here, in the same place, at the same time, and Ryan knew that nothing would ever be the same again. Zara's eyes softened, and for the first time since her return, she gave him a small, knowing smile. There was something different in that smile, something deeper than just gratitude or kindness. Ryan found himself unable to speak, his thoughts a whirlwind of confusion and emotion. All he knew was that Zara, the alien girl who had once been a stranger, had returned to him, and this time, it wasn't for rescue. It was for something much, much warmer. Zara's presence loomed in the cool air, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. Ryan stood there, rooted to the spot, trying to process the enormity of her return. Zara's eyes never left his, and the weight of her gaze sent an unsettling, yet thrilling, shiver down his spine. It was as if time had slowed, each second stretching between them like a bridge they had to cross together. The cold wind picked up again, but neither of them moved. Finally, Zara took another step forward, her voice breaking the silence. "You helped me once, Ryan. But now, I need something more than your protection." Ryan's pulse quickened at her words, but he held his ground. His mind raced, trying to understand what she meant. She had come for something warmer, but what did that mean? "I'm not sure I understand," he said, his voice steady despite the confusion swirling inside him. Zara's lips curled into a small smile, the edges of it carrying a hint of something softer than the fierce warrior she had become. "You gave me a second chance at life. You saved me when I had no one. But now, I want more than gratitude." Her words hit him like a wave, each one carrying more weight than the last. Ryan's heart raced as he tried to make sense of her meaning. She wasn't here for his help. She wasn't here because she needed him to save her again. This time, she was standing before him as an equal. His chest tightened, a sense of something much deeper stirring between them. Zara took another step closer, closing the distance between them. She was within arm's reach now, her violet skin glowing softly under the pale light. Ryan could feel the heat of her presence, a contrast to the cold wind still whipping around them. "I've thought about you often," Zara continued, her voice low and vulnerable. "What you did for me. I've been away from you for so long, but I couldn't stop thinking about the way you made me feel safe. And now, I want to see if we can build something together. Not just as a protector and a survivor." Ryan's breath caught in his throat. His mind whirled with 1,000 thoughts, none of them making sense. And yet, they all felt true. Zara had come back to him, not because she was desperate, but because there was something more between them, something that had been building since the first time he saved her. Something that wasn't just about survival. His heart was beating faster now, his thoughts becoming a blur of emotions he wasn't sure he was ready to face. He had never imagined that something like this, something so personal, so intimate, could happen. He had always seen her as the alien he saved, the girl from another world who needed his help. But now, she was standing before him, no longer a victim, but a woman with her own desires. Zara's hand reached out, gently resting on his arm, sending a jolt of warmth through him. She didn't say anything more, but the connection between them was undeniable. The unspoken words hung in the air, thick with the possibility of what could be. Ryan's mind was racing, but for the first time in a long while, he felt a sense of clarity. He had spent so long thinking of Zara as someone who needed his protection, but now, he was seeing her as something more. She wasn't just the girl he saved. She was someone who had come back to him, not because she needed to be rescued, but because she wanted to build something together. He could feel the pull between them, the magnetic force that seemed to draw him closer. It wasn't just about being her protector anymore. It was about something deeper, something they both needed. "Zara," he whispered, his voice low and uncertain. "I don't know what this is, but I'm willing to find out." Her smile widened, a mixture of relief and something softer in her eyes. "Then let's find out together," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, as she took another step closer, bridging the gap between them. Ryan stood there, heart racing, as the space between him and Zara seemed to shrink. The moment was fragile, like the thin thread of possibility that had woven them together over the past months. He couldn't help but notice how her presence filled the air, like a warm light that cut through the cold. Her violet skin shimmered under the light of the distant stars, and her eyes, those eyes that once seemed so distant, were now filled with something deeper, something that spoke of more than gratitude. Zara's hand still rested on his arm, her touch gentle but insistent, as if she was grounding him in the reality of what was happening. He could feel the pull between them, the desire to close the gap between them, but neither of them moved. "Ryan," she said softly, her voice a soothing balm. "I know we're both unsure of what comes next, but I'm not asking you to decide everything right now. I just need you to trust me, trust what we're building." Ryan swallowed hard, his mind still clouded with confusion and doubt. How could he just trust something so unexpected, so foreign? But as he looked into Zara's eyes, he realized that he had been trusting her all along, from the moment he had reached out to save her. Everything that had come after, every hesitation, every moment of doubt, had brought him here, to this point where the connection between them felt undeniable. He took a deep breath, his voice steady but filled with an unspoken understanding. "I've always trusted you, Zara. Even when I didn't fully understand what was happening, I trusted you." Zara's expression softened, her lips curving into a smile that seemed to hold all the answers he was searching for. It was a smile that spoke of shared moments, of battles fought together and won. "And I trust you, Ryan. I trust you more than I ever thought possible." For a long moment, neither of them moved. The world around them seemed to fall away, leaving only the quiet of the night and the connection they shared. The wind still howled through the empty spaces of the alien landscape, but in that moment, there was peace. Finally, Zara stepped closer, closing the remaining distance between them. She reached up, gently brushing a strand of his hair behind his ear, her touch light but electric. Ryan's breath caught in his throat as he felt the warmth of her presence, the subtle heat that radiated from her, mingling with his own. The air around them shifted, thick with something new, something that hadn't been there before. It was a feeling of unity, of two people who had walked through their own struggles, now finding strength in each other. "I've never met anyone like you," Zara said, her voice barely above a whisper. "You've shown me what it means to care, to protect, to love without fear." Ryan's heart swelled at her words, the weight of them sinking deep into his chest. "And you've shown me that there's more to this universe than I ever imagined," he replied, his voice raw with emotion. "More than I ever thought I could have." Their eyes locked, and in that moment, everything else faded away. The world seemed to pause, holding its breath as if waiting for them to take the next step. Ryan reached out, his hand cupping her cheek, the warmth of her skin a stark contrast to the cold night air. Zara closed her eyes, leaning into his touch, and for the first time, Ryan felt a sense of certainty that he had been searching for. This wasn't just a moment. This was the beginning of something far deeper, far more meaningful than either of them could have anticipated. "Let's build something together," Ryan murmured, his voice thick with emotion. Zara smiled again, this time with a look of tenderness that spoke volumes. "Together," she agreed, her voice filled with promise. As their lips met, the universe around them seemed to shift, a new chapter beginning, one that neither of them could have predicted, but both knew they were ready to face. Together. The days that followed felt like a dream to Ryan, a surreal blur of moments that seemed to stretch into eternity. Zara had stayed with him, and though they spent their days navigating the desolate landscape and talking about their pasts, something deeper had settled between them. They began to share stories of their worlds. Ryan spoke of Earth, its bustling cities and quiet forests, its people who struggled and fought just to survive. Zara told him of her home, the faraway planets of the Tan Dominion, where power and politics shaped everything, and where she had once been a queen, revered and feared. Yet, as they spoke, the space between them closed, and with each word, each glance, their connection deepened. Ryan had always been a protector, someone who had lived his life fighting for others, yet he never expected to find this, someone who truly understood him. Zara, once the alien in need of rescue, was now the woman who had returned for him, and he could feel her strength, her intelligence, and her vulnerability in ways he had never imagined. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of purple and orange, they sat side by side on the rocky cliff, watching the stars slowly take their place in the night sky. Zara's head rested on Ryan's shoulder, her presence calming yet electrifying. "Ryan," she said softly, breaking the comfortable silence, "do you ever wonder if we're meant to be here, together, like this?" He looked down at her, his heart swelling. He had wondered the same thing countless times. The pull between them felt too strong to be coincidence, but the complexity of their worlds, their differences, weighed heavily on his mind. "Every day," he replied, his voice a low murmur. "I never thought I would feel this way, but now I can't imagine my life without you in it." Zara turned her head to look up at him, her violet eyes shining with a mixture of tenderness and something deeper, something that mirrored his own feelings. "Neither can I," she whispered. "But we still have so much ahead of us, Ryan. We have to face the challenges that come with what we are, with what we have between us." Ryan nodded, his thoughts running in a dozen different directions. He knew the obstacles they would face, alien politics, cultural barriers, the differences in their species. But none of that seemed important right now. What mattered was the woman beside him, the way she had made him feel more alive than he ever thought possible. "Whatever comes next," Ryan said, his hand finding hers, "we'll face it together." Zara squeezed his hand, her smile soft and knowing. "Together," she echoed. As the stars twinkled overhead, Ryan couldn't help but feel that, no matter the challenges, no matter the unknowns that awaited them, he had found something in Zara that was worth fighting for. She wasn't just the alien who needed saving anymore. She was the woman he had chosen to stand beside, and he couldn't imagine facing a future without her. As the night deepened, they sat together, lost in the quiet comfort of each other's presence, knowing that this was just the beginning of a journey they would walk side by side, no matter the obstacles ahead. The days that followed were a whirlwind of discovery and uncertainty. Zara and Ryan spent their time together, learning more about each other's worlds, and yet the world outside of them seemed to fade into the background. The days were filled with conversations under the stars, long walks across the rugged terrain, and moments of silence that felt more comfortable than any words could convey. Zara had come to see Earth as a place of both beauty and hardship, and Ryan had begun to appreciate the depths of her intelligence and strength. As they worked together to make sense of their future, there was an undeniable connection that grew between them, something that neither of them had expected but both had quietly longed for. One afternoon, as they stood atop a cliff overlooking a vast valley, Zara broke the quiet that had settled between them. "Ryan," she said, her voice soft but carrying a weight of thought, "there's something I've been thinking about. Our worlds, our species, they're so different, and yet we've found something in each other that feels real. I know that what we're facing won't be easy, but for the first time, I feel like I'm not alone." Ryan turned to face her, his heart pounding. As her words settled deep within him, he had felt it too. The way they had come together, not just as protector and rescued, but as equals. There was something undeniable between them, something that defied the vast distances between their worlds. "Zara," he said, his voice steady but filled with emotion, "I never thought I'd find someone like you. I've seen the hardships of Earth, the struggles, the wars, the divisions. But none of that compares to what I feel when I'm with you. For the first time, I feel like there's more than just survival. There's something worth fighting for." Zara smiled, her eyes softening as she reached out and placed a hand on his arm. The warmth of her touch sent a jolt through him, and in that moment, he realized just how much she had come to mean to him. "We both know the challenges that lie ahead," Zara said, her voice tinged with both resolve and vulnerability. "But we can face them together. We have to. The universe is vast, and there are forces out there that will try to keep us apart. But nothing can stand between what we've found in each other." Ryan nodded, his mind swirling with the weight of their words. He had always thought of himself as a soldier, someone who fought for others. But this was different. This wasn't a battle fought with weapons or tactics. This was a fight for something far more precious. "Together," he whispered, as if the word itself held the key to their future. As they stood side by side, looking out at the vast expanse before them, there was a sense of certainty that settled in Ryan's chest. No matter what the universe threw their way, no matter how difficult the path ahead, they would face it together. And that, in itself, was enough to make him believe in something greater than just survival. It was enough to make him believe in love, in connection, and in the possibility of a future that neither of them had dared to imagine. The stars above them sparkled with a new brilliance, as if the universe itself had recognized what they had found. A bond that transcended the boundaries of their worlds, a bond that neither time nor space could ever sever. The days turned into weeks, and as time passed, Zara and Ryan continued to grow closer, each day bringing them new challenges, but also new discoveries. The world they lived in was far from perfect, but in each other, they had found a sanctuary, a place where their differences didn't matter. They were two people from entirely different worlds, yet here, together, they were beginning to build something that neither had expected. As they walked through the alien landscape one afternoon, Zara pointed to a distant mountain range, the peaks covered in snow, their edges glowing under the light of the setting sun. "It's beautiful," she said softly, her voice tinged with awe. Ryan followed her gaze, taking in the view. He had seen many landscapes in his life, but none quite like this. "It is," he agreed, his tone filled with a quiet reverence. "And yet, it's not just the beauty that strikes me. It's the fact that we're here, together, sharing this moment." Zara turned to him, her violet eyes meeting his with an intensity that made his heart race. "You've changed me, Ryan," she said, her voice low, almost a whisper. "When I first arrived on Earth, I never imagined I could feel like this, like I belong. But now I do. With you." Ryan reached out, gently brushing a strand of hair from her face, the touch as soft as the wind that whispered around them. "I never imagined I would find someone like you either," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Someone who not only challenges me, but makes me want to be a better person." Zara smiled, a warmth spreading through her expression that made Ryan's heart swell. "You already are a better person, Ryan. You just needed someone to remind you of it." The words hung in the air, the depth of their connection growing with each passing moment. They had been through so much, and yet, in each other, they had found something neither had thought possible, a love that defied the boundaries of their worlds. The future was still uncertain, filled with challenges they couldn't yet understand, but for the first time, Ryan felt truly hopeful. The sun dipped below the horizon, and the stars began to emerge in the sky, each one twinkling like a promise. Zara took Ryan's hand, her touch steady and warm, and they stood there together, side by side, ready to face whatever came next. The journey ahead would not be easy, but with each other, they knew they could overcome anything. As the night settled around them, they shared a quiet moment, the weight of their words and their hearts speaking louder than anything else in the universe. Together, Ryan whispered, the word carrying a sense of finality, of commitment, of a bond that could not be broken. Zara squeezed his hand in response, her heart full. Together, she echoed, her voice strong and filled with certainty. In that moment, under the vastness of the stars, they knew they had found something rare, something worth fighting for. And whatever the future held, they would face it together. As the days passed, Ryan and Zara's bond only deepened. They had found a quiet rhythm in their lives, a kind of peaceful coexistence amidst the chaos of their worlds. The landscape around them remained stark and unforgiving, yet within the walls of their small, makeshift camp, there was a warmth that felt like home. They spent their days exploring, their nights curled up by the fire, sharing stories and dreams of what the future might hold. There were no promises, no guarantees, just the certainty that whatever came their way, they would face it together. One evening, as they sat on the edge of the camp, watching the stars fill the night sky, Zara spoke, her voice soft and thoughtful. Ryan, do you ever wonder about the future? About what's out there for us? Ryan turned to look at her, his gaze softening. I think about it all the time, but I've learned not to focus too much on what we can't control. The future will come, whether we're ready or not. What matters is that we're here, now, together. Zara smiled, her eyes glinting with a mixture of hope and something deeper. You're right, she said. I used to think that I had to carry the weight of everything on my shoulders. But with you, I don't feel so alone anymore. I don't feel so lost. Ryan reached out, taking her hand in his, the warmth of her touch grounding him in the moment. We're not alone, Zara. Not anymore. The words felt like a promise, one that resonated deeply within both of them. They had come from two different worlds, two different lives, yet in each other, they had found something that neither of them had ever expected. They had found something worth fighting for, something that transcended all the differences between their species. The silence between them was comfortable, the kind that spoke louder than words. Zara leaned her head on his shoulder, her breath steady and calm as she closed her eyes. For a long while, neither of them spoke, simply existing in the shared space of their hearts. The world outside might have been filled with uncertainty and danger, but here, in this moment, there was only peace. It wasn't perfection, but it was real. And for the first time in a long time, Ryan felt like he was exactly where he was meant to be. They both knew that their journey was far from over. There would be challenges, obstacles, and moments of doubt. But for the first time in their lives, they had each other. And that, they knew, would make all the difference. As the fire crackled softly beside them, the warmth of the flames dancing in the cool night air, Ryan and Zara sat together, hands intertwined, gazing up at the stars. The future was uncertain, but in that moment, it didn't matter. What mattered was the here and now, and the connection they had found, a connection that would see them through whatever came next. The next few days were filled with quiet moments and meaningful conversations, but the weight of the outside world was never far from their minds. As much as they found peace in each other's company, they both knew that they couldn't remain in isolation forever. The threat of the unknown loomed, and the universe outside their small world was still vast and dangerous. Zara had always been a warrior, a leader in her own right, and though she had found comfort in Ryan's presence, there was a part of her that could never fully abandon her responsibilities. Ryan, too, had his own burdens. As a soldier, he had spent his life fighting battles, some of which had left scars deeper than he could ever explain. But with Zara, those scars didn't matter. She didn't see him as the soldier, the man hardened by war. She saw him as Ryan, and for the first time in years, he allowed himself to be seen in that light. One afternoon, as they sat on the edge of a small stream, Zara spoke quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. Ryan, there's something I've been thinking about. I can't stay here forever. My people, my responsibilities, they're waiting for me. And while I would stay with you, I know I can't abandon them completely. I have a duty to my people. Ryan looked at her, his heart heavy with understanding. He had always known that the day would come when Zara would need to return to her world, to her duties. But that didn't make it any easier. I know, he said, his voice steady but filled with the pain of the inevitable. I've always known you had a greater purpose. But that doesn't make it easier, Zara. It doesn't make it any easier to think about losing you. Zara reached for his hand, her fingers brushing his gently. I'm not going anywhere, Ryan. Not yet. But we need to face the truth. We can't live in this bubble forever. There's a world out there that still needs us, that needs both of us. The weight of her words settled in, and for a long moment, neither of them spoke. The quiet of the stream seemed to echo the stillness between them. They had both known, deep down, that their time together in this small sanctuary couldn't last forever. But hearing Zara say it aloud made the truth harder to bear. Finally, Ryan spoke, his voice softer now, tinged with both acceptance and sadness. I know you're right. We have to face what's out there. But it's hard, Zara. It's hard to think about everything that's waiting for us. We've built something here, something real, and I don't want to lose that. Zara squeezed his hand, her gaze unwavering. You won't lose me, Ryan. Not completely. We'll face whatever comes next, together. And no matter where I go, I'll always carry a piece of you with me. The words were simple, but they were enough to ease the heaviness in Ryan's chest, if only for a moment. He knew that the road ahead would be difficult, that there would be decisions they both had to make, but in that moment, he found solace in the certainty that they weren't alone. The world around them might be vast and uncertain, but what they had built was real, and it was enough. The sun began to set, casting a soft glow over the landscape, and for the first time in a long while, Ryan felt a sense of peace. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew one thing. As long as Zara was by his side, he was ready to face whatever came their way. The morning sun rose, casting a soft golden hue over the valley, and for a moment, Ryan allowed himself to forget about the weight of the universe. Sitting beside Zara, he felt a fleeting sense of peace. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it the scent of fresh earth and possibility. For just a moment, he wished that time could stand still, that they could remain here, in this small, quiet world they had created for themselves. But reality, as always, lingered on the edge of their thoughts. Zara's voice broke the silence. Ryan, I've been thinking. Her tone was soft, yet there was a certain determination in it that caught his attention. About what? He asked, glancing over at her. She met his gaze, her violet eyes steady. About our future. About what comes next for both of us. He felt a pang of uncertainty twist in his chest. He knew the conversation was coming, but he wasn't ready for it. I know we've talked about it, she continued. But the time has come for us to decide what we're going to do. My people, my responsibilities, they need me. But you found something here, haven't you? A place where you can make a difference, where you can have a purpose beyond just surviving. Ryan's heart raced as he processed her words. He had thought about it, of course. About what came next. About what he wanted out of life. But the idea of leaving this place, of leaving Zara, was something he hadn't fully faced. I've always been a soldier, Ryan said slowly, his voice barely above a whisper. I've always fought for others. But with you, I've learned what it means to fight for something more. Something that's not just about survival. Zara's hand found his, her fingers curling around his with a softness that belied the strength in her touch. You've changed me too, Ryan. I've spent my life in a world where power and duty were everything. But with you, I've learned that there's more to life than duty. There's something deeper, something worth fighting for. Her words settled in the space between them, heavy with the truth they both knew but had never fully acknowledged. Ryan squeezed her hand, his heart swelling with emotion. He had never imagined he would find someone who understood him so completely. Someone who saw beyond the soldier, beyond the duty. Someone who saw him as a person, someone worth fighting for. What do we do now? Ryan asked, his voice rough with the uncertainty of their future. Zara looked out across the valley, her gaze distant, as if she were searching for something on the horizon. We do what we've always done, she said, her voice strong. We face the future, whatever it holds, together. Ryan nodded, feeling the weight of her words settle in his chest. Whatever came next, they would face it together. And that was enough. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting its warm glow over the world around them, Ryan and Zara sat side by side, knowing that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they had each other. And that, in the end, was the only thing that truly mattered.